On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, the playoffs right around the corner. So, of course, that brings up a lot of questions about Gabe Landeskog. We'll talk about that and a lot of other listener questions on today's episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Apologies that there has not been a show for the past couple weeks, because you can probably tell already why there was no shows on Monday or Tuesday, just by the sound of this voice. This is good sounding right now, Kyle.
This is late night FM, Chris.
I don't mean in that sense. I mean like what it was 24 hours or 40 hours ago was horrid. But this is the best that I can do right now. So
you went from ham radio to FM radio.
Oh my God. So it's been brutal. But I couldn't not go 3 days without an episode. So I'm gonna power through this thing. The mute button will be my friend. And you're gonna have to talk a lot today, maybe. I don't know. We'll see how this thing goes.
Then everybody's gonna get sick.
And don't make me laugh, please, because that doesn't help this cause either.
Oh, be serious. No, this is unfair.
Yeah, no, this is not a normal show. But we're gonna see what we can do with this thing, because it's important. I'm happy that I got it this week and not next week. Good Lord, like that'd be horrible. But getting it out of the way, because the important stuff is starting very, very soon. And we had some news, which we kind of expected. Gabe Landeskog, his conditioning assignment was ended. He could have played one more game. We really didn't think he was going to, because that's an away game. He got the 2 games in back to back. Felt pretty good. Still seems like he feels pretty good. So he comes back and joins the club. And we got a ton of questions about that. Understandably so. And that is the question right now. There's a lot of questions, and we're going to have a crossover with Joey from Locked On Stars. That'll be out on Friday. And we'll
boo
talk
that
about,
man. Boo.
Yeah, no, Joey's good people. I like Joey. He's a good man. Boo his team.
Yeah,
but yeah, the question now is Gabe Landeskog. Is he going to be ready for game 1? We got a lot of questions about it. Here's one from Cody from our subtext crew. What do you think of Landeskog in the playoffs? Is he going to be there as the emotional charge to the team, or do we expect him to be productive and a physical presence, or both? What, first of all, so we'll answer that. Do you feel like he's going to be ready for game 1?
I think he's honestly, and again, let's be real. He hasn't played NHL action since 2022. Like, yes, he went to the AHL, but I think he's going to be a little bit of both. And don't expect him to come back and be 2022 version Gabe Landeskog. Like, he will be an emotional charge. Like, his comeback already has carried over into the NHL, the world of sports. Like, it's been eye-catching already. Just him being in that lineup, and I'm pretty sure we're going to discuss like what kind of capacity in just a minute, but like just him being in that, like, if he could do what he was doing in the AHL, that's fine with me. Like, I don't expect him being like overdoing it. And I really kind of caution him to not overdo it. Like, be smart about it. We want you throughout the playoffs, but just his presence alone is going to be enough. And I think this team could find many different uses for him, especially on that power play.
Well, as far as if I think he's going to be ready for game 1, yeah, I do. I don't like, what's the point? What's the point of bringing him up now? You have all these days off. It's not like, your season is ending on like Wednesday, or not even that. I shouldn't even go that. It's not like he played the game with the Eagles on like Wednesday and then they're playing Saturday, and you have to kind of assess, okay, are you feeling okay? Like, he's got all this time off, just like the team has all this time off. So what is the difference in holding him out 2 more games to have him start game 3 and have that be of a bigger story for, playing on home ice as his first game back? It's still going to be huge, even if he does play game 1 and game 2. So I don't see the point. I don't see, like, why hold him out a few more days longer when this entire week he's got practice. He's practicing with this team. He came back up and he's practicing with the club. It doesn't make sense to me that when game 1 starts, you hold him out. The only reason you do is if he's not feeling good.
Yeah.
It's the only reason. If he's feeling all right, he's in. And then the second question is like, where does he fit in? We talked about this a couple weeks ago, and like what line. And I think the consensus was bottom 6 role. And I answered this question on Instagram too. Call me crazy, man. I've kind of changed my tune on that. If he's good to go, and the way that he answered questions about how does your body feel after those games, and he was like, I feel good. I'm putting him in on the second line, Kyle. I am. And like Cody's asking, like, is he the emotional presence or the physical presence? Both. The emotional takes care of itself. That affects the rest of the team. The physical is how he plays, and they're not going to put him in there just to stand around and just be the emotional guy. This is the playoffs. We're not putting a guy in there to do that. We're putting a guy in there to be productive. And if they feel like he can be productive, he's going in. And I will say the only reason I think he doesn't go on a second line is if Bednar feels like he can't handle the time on ice that a guy on the second line could handle. But he played 15 minutes plus in the 2 games with the Eagles, so he can handle that. Different time, I guess. I get with NHL compared to AHL. I'm not minimizing AHL, but I think I do, man. I just feel like if he's ready to go, he goes on that second line. Call me crazy.
All right, you're crazy. I feel like honestly, you're going to start him out on the third, and you're going to acclimate him from there. Because again, remembering how the season ended for the Colorado Avalanche, that second line has been the better line, has honestly promoted itself to line 1. And Gabe Landeskog was carrying, like, with my eyeballs, watching the Gabe Landeskog that I watched play against Henderson twice.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like a third line. Like what he can bring. You don't want to say, yeah, you're Gabe Landeskog, you're going to go immediately over and start just off name alone. Like, no, yes, if this was the regular season, but this is Henderson Silver Knights in the AHL, wrapping up the AHL season. This is playoff level Dallas Stars. I would put Gabe Landeskog at the third, and if he starts excelling and really feeling good after game 1, then I might have the conversation around game 2, especially game 3. That's when I start having that conversation, but I would start him out that third. You don't want to, like, good job, you did the AHL, check. Here you go. Here's all your minutes back. Here's everything. You said you're feeling good. Here you go. No, you still gotta be smart with this, and you're jumping into the NHL at its most souped up, out of control level in the playoffs. So you still got to be smart with it. So third line, and then go from there.
And I would have zero problem with that. Yeah. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be sitting here saying like, what is Bednar doing? He's not putting him in a top 6 role. Like, I completely get that. But and they know, they talk to him all the time. And if he's saying like, hey, I'm as much of 100% as the rest of these guys on this team, what a jacked up moment for that team. If he's on a second line in the power play, we'll see where he goes there, because he's doing all the things that Gabe Landeskog normally does in the AHL. Yeah. Dallas is they have guys on that team that are bruisers and will go after you, and they will go after Gabe Landeskog. I really hope that it's not malicious. But we had that conversation before about him going to the AHL, NHL. That's a whole nother ball game. And if he can withstand that, because they're, you got that net front presence from him, and you get it from Nichushkin, and on the power play, he needs to be productive. Like I said, the emotional part, that helps the whole team, and that just is going to be baked in. But and you might be right about, hey, throw him on a third line, let him get reacclimated for a little bit. But I think if it's going well for him, maybe even happens mid-game where he might throw him up onto a second line. And if someone on the second line is not producing, Bednar is known to do that. So we'll see how it goes.
You also, like, it's a different question about like being worried about like Dallas playing physical against him in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Like, wins and losses matter now. Like in the garbage time, like LA game, Vancouver game, you're just like, oh, whatever, I'm so ready for the playoffs. Right. It did not matter. People can check up and say, hey, good to see you, Landy. I'll let you go. I'll let you pass. In the playoffs, every shift matters. And
Right.
you can't go skating to that bench saying, well, that's Landeskog. I don't want to bump. I don't want to go to. No, you wins and losses matter. You got to win 4 games. It doesn't matter if you check up for Landeskog. He's not going to want that either. So you got to be smart with it. And Dallas is going to come at you. So it'd be a safer approach to start him out at that third, see how he does, and see, like, with the way the fourth and the second line have been playing as of late in this last week of the season, I hate bothering both. So I'd keep him at that third and build the line around him, but go from there.
And Kay asks, who's he bump? Who's out because he's in? To me, it's
Miles?
well, he's out anyway. I don't think Miles Wood is playing. I think it's Parker Kelly. Because, I mean, here's your lines, right? Let me, I had it up here. Obviously, your first line is what we're kind of used to with McKinnon. Well, I mean, it's a good question about what the first line is. To me, I'd go Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Martin Nishis. I'm putting Nishis on the top line. This is the playoffs.
Yep.
Get your speed demons on the top line. Your second line, probably Drouin, Nelson, Nichushkin. Your third line, if Landeskog's going on your third line, that's him. Coyle is your center for your third line, and Ross Colton. That's your third line. And that is a really good line.
Oh my God, that line is beautiful.
If Landeskog pans out and everything's okay, I'm excited to see that line. That's a really good line. And then your fourth line, you have Drury. He's your center. You got Logan O'Connor. So who's your other guy? It's either Kivi Ranta. It's either Parker Kelly. It's either Miles Wood. I think those are your 3 guys. I don't think Wood has done anything to get that spot. I think Parker Kelly has, but I think Kivi Ranta has done a little bit more. So I think,
and he's got tail the tape on Dallas.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, but these are good depth problems to have if you're the Avalanche. So, I think that's a good forward
real
run.
Good team. That's a good team.
Forward run right there. So, yeah. So we'll talk about this more obviously with Joey and if there's news coming out of Avalanche camp about how he's feeling and if things are still going well, more to talk about obviously. But it's definitely an exciting time because it's playoff time and Gabe Landeskog is back and away we go. So more to talk about obviously, and the goalies are getting brought up again in Avalanche circles. What's that all about? We'll do that next.
Do you have trouble sleeping? If so, you're not alone. That used to be me, lacking rest, tossing and turning. I was late for meetings. I never felt like myself. That's until I found Bear Mattress. Bear Mattress and their sleep recovery technology helped me fall asleep faster as well as enjoy deeper sleeps. I felt like myself again, and you can too. Bear Mattress knows that every sleeper is different. That's why they have their sleep quiz on their website that finds you your perfect match. As a side sleeper, I matched with the Elite Hybrid Mattress, and I've been telling everyone in my life they have to try Bear Mattress risk-free. You can sleep on your Bear Mattress up to 120 nights, and if you're not getting the best sleep of your life, you can get it refunded. They'll pick it up with absolutely no hassle. So go to bearmattress.com and use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout to get 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com. Use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
All right, so we got a lot of questions as well about who starts game 1 for the goalie position, because I feel like people are starting to sour a little bit on Mackenzie Blackwood, and the love affair with Scott Wedgwood has continued, and I get that. Like, Wedgwood has done very well. Blackwood, while he's not imploding, if you're going to compare the two as of late, I think Scott Wedgwood has been your better goalie. And again, I don't want to say it's like Blackwood has just fallen off a cliff, but you saw some goals that have gone in that you need stopped, that have to be stopped, and ones that he has stopped since he came over here. but he seems to be a little bit leaky as of late. Jared Bednar, I think, has been as clear as he's going to be on who his game one starter is, which is going to be Blackwood. I think that is the thinking, that he's their number one guy. He's been their number one guy, and that's who you start. I think it sets the wrong precedent to immediately go to the backup for game one, because that just sets everything just in a negative motion, I feel. And I think he's got confidence in Blackwood, and he's going to give him the start and see what goes on here. But I will say, if it's not going well, he has no problem flipping the switch and making a change. But if you ask me, I don't really feel like it's a debate right now for game one. It's Mackenzie Blackwood.
Interesting, because I could plead the other side, and not just because of, like, I get it, like Mackenzie Blackwood, he's our goalie, yada yada yada. I get it, but I'm also looking here at recently, and look, if you put out Mackenzie Blackwood game one and you get more of the same that you've been getting here lately, yeah, you go to Wedgwood, that's fine. But what if he falters? Now you have two goalies that are rattled, and look at there. We're back to where we were when we started the season. So if I was Jared Bednar, if I was going into the season, I'm riding the hot hand. I'm putting Scott Wedgwood in game one and telling Mackenzie, hey, I'm giving you the chance. This is your job. You're going to get it back. And then if it gets rocky, if it's not what you want, or if Wedgwood gives you another great game, solid shutout, game one, put Mackenzie in game two. And then keep him, hold him. Now you have two goalies with confidence out the ceiling, and you could carry that stable again. You've just reclaimed your goalies. But if you put out Mackenzie Blackwood after what he's been doing with leaky goals here and there, and then starts game one that way, you might have just broke the psyche of Mackenzie Blackwood, and you're going to be desperately hoping for Wedgwood to continue as he has been. But if that gets shaken, it's not a great place to be in when it comes to the goalie position.
Yeah, which is why I just feel like it's tough to immediately go to the back. And I mean, you could phrase it like you kind of did just there and say, like, hey, he's been hot as of late. Let's see if that carries over into the postseason. But that, even in doing that, that's saying, like, hey, you don't have as much faith in me if I'm Mackenzie Blackwood, because I've been your number one guy since you brought me over here. They've been a great tandem. It's a different ball game in the postseason. I'm not saying Scott Wedgwood couldn't handle it. Like, the way that he's been playing, you feel pretty confident in him. But I think to start a playoff series, everyone plays where they're supposed to play. And I don't think you make a move to a backup goalie, which is what Scott Wedgwood is. I don't think you can be this team to say, like, because how do you go? The only way like you're saying, the only way you switch back to Blackwood is if Scott Wedgwood just implodes in game one, and then how does he feel the rest of the playoffs? Now are you second guessing yourself on if I have to turn to him, what's his mindset like? I don't think that you can put Scott Wedgwood in that position, although I think he would own it and he'd rise up to the occasion as much as he could. But you have to give Mackenzie Blackwood the opportunity to rise up to that occasion too, because you're paying him the money to be that guy, and he's got to show you that he can or cannot do it, and then you go make a decision. But just for game one, that's kind of where I stand, is like you're the guys that you pay the most money to do what they're supposed to do. You give them the opportunity, because we've seen guys go off in playoffs. We've seen it. And guys rise up in playoff scenarios. And again, I don't want to go back to feeling like Mackenzie Blackwood has been playing terrible. He hasn't. He's let in a couple goals here and there that you don't like to see. And it's those things is like, okay, easy quotes, button those things up and we're okay. This is not a early in the season problem where it was like every shot that's thrown towards the net, you're just like, crossing your fingers, I hope this doesn't go in. He hasn't been like that. So I still feel like he's your goalie, he's your guy, and that's who you run with.
I get that, but like you also want to run the hot hand to give your team the best opportunity to win the game. And right now it's Wedgwood. And like when both goalies have been great, we've been loving just say 1A, 1B, stable this, stable that, woodshed, whatever. But when one goalie falters, we go right back to the hard B word and say backup. No, he can't be a backup. No, Scott Wedgwood is the backup. No, it's still 1A, 1B. And 1B right now is playing better than 1A. And going into the playoffs, you feel better with 1B. So, like, you alternate from there, but give Wedgwood the start. And if it doesn't work, Blackwood, that's your chance to reclaim everything. You go in there with some kind of confidence in game 2 and go steal your job. Like, you know what is being asked of you, and you know your play has not been that great. So go back out there and get some confidence back. You can't, if you get it shattered in game 1 and it's more of the same, you're never getting it back. It's you give a little bit of a chance if you alternate and say, yeah, this was my hot hand coming in. We're going to reward him for that. But your job is game 2. Just announce it right before the playoffs even start.
Let me ask it to you in this way. If you're wanting to ride a hot hand going into the playoffs, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here because we just did an entire segment on him, why are you putting Gabe Landeskog in? Dude hasn't played in 3 years.
Wait, why are you asking me? I've been asking this question every time we talked about his comeback.
Seriously though, like if that's the like how you're going to address like who you're starting, and if it's hot hands, I get that. I understand that conversation. And again, like I want Gabe Landeskog to play. I hope he starts game 1. I'm just throwing this out there to like kind of rebut a little bit. Why is Gabe Landeskog going to win there?
Why is Ross Colton still playing?
Wow, come on. Like Colton's he's there. He's not going anywhere.
When it's an easier conversation to have when it's a goalie and this is your one job. Like keep pucks out of the net. Got it. But like when you go to like when you're talking like Landeskog, like Ross Colton starting the year incredible, but after that it's been
Well, he got hurt, and when he came back from that, it took him a little while to get going again. But he's
like,
still can be a dangerous guy that no one's going to unseat him in that role.
Well, you want the end of the day, you want the best Colorado Avalanche team on the ice to win 4 games to advance, and you can't play favorites and like this is my like. I get it. Like the Landeskog thing's a whole different conversation, but like it comes down to a psyche thing. If you send Blackwood out game 1 and he breaks and it's more of the same, then you are down to one goalie for the playoffs.
Provided that, Wedgwood just keeps playing how he is. Because if he doesn't, then you just have this ping pong effect going. Yeah. You don't know what to do. So
it's a weird gamble.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. All right. We'll take one more break here. And then we got a couple questions here. We got a lot, which we're not going to get to all of them today. But I don't know. I don't know which one we'll do next. We'll figure it out. But whatever we do, we'll do it next. All right, here from Wonderful Pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller for longer. So get snackin and get crackin with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com right now to learn more. All right. We're going to bring up someone asked a question about Jonathan Drouin. And we don't get too much into contracts and stuff like that now because it's the playoffs. But someone did ask, like, what do you think the contract for him will be next year? And I'm like, I don't know. It's so difficult to answer because it's difficult to answer in term because he's 30 years old, believe it or not. That went by quick. But for me, and that's how I answered it. I was like, for what I would be comfortable with Jonathan Drouin is something like 4 to 5 years and somewhere in between 4 and 5 million. I would be happy with that. Because he does get injured. He is injury prone. He's not that point per player guy, but he does give you some good offensive dynamics. He's good defensively. Like, he's a solid player for you. And I feel like a solid player is in that realm. But is the question there again where someone else is like what he's done in Colorado and someone else tries to go out and grab him? I think that's still there. I don't think he wants to go anywhere. I think he's very happy here. He did them a solid by doing that 1-year deal at a lesser rate. I think he's had a fine season, but that's where I am with him. And I think the playoffs will play a big role in that too. See how he does in the playoffs.
That's exactly what my rebuttal would have been. I don't want to look or honestly, like, contracts you evaluate here and now, starting with the playoffs, because regular season guys, that's great and wonderful, but you want to see what they can do in the playoffs. Like we've talked about Val Nichushkin, like, great value, but when when it comes to the playoffs, hasn't been there. Like, I want to see what Drouin does in the playoffs, and if it's one of those that teams like what he does and wants to pay him more, you can say, hey, he did help us in the playoffs in this moment, we could pay that too. He's worth it. Like, I want the playoffs. I want to solidify his value. What he's done in the regular season, rinse, wash, repeat, the last deal. Because, I mean, it didn't jump off the page. Nothing was, like, incredible there. But show me something in the playoffs, then talk to me.
And I think there's another guy. That's why I'm bringing these up, because there was two of them. And I feel like the playoffs are going to be big for them in terms of what they get from the Avs, if they get anything from the Avs. Drouin was one and Lindgren was the other. So I don't know what, like, because a lot of people were thinking Lindgren was a rental at the time they got him, because he is a free agent. And, but I don't know how much he's going to command on the open market right now. It's tough to really say that. And if the Avs like what he does in the postseason and he kind of changes the look of their defense of being a more beefy, like, kind of bruising defense, you might see some changes on the defensive end from the Avalanche to make room for him to sign him. It's possible.
Yeah, talk to me after the playoffs, because if you're going off regular season, I was not overly thrilled or wowed or impressed. And I'd be like, if it was a rental, I would not lose an ounce of sleep. If he never, like, after this season, if he doesn't play for the Avs, it's okay. But I'd like to see what he can add when it comes to the playoffs, if it gives that extra grit that they have been missing for the past couple of years.
I don't know. I thought he was just misused in New York, and I think the way that the Avs are using him is just much more suitable to him. And I think he's been good. I think he's been really good with them. So I got two more here. One is about, we're going to be talking about this a lot, Mikko Rantanen. And then we have a fun one that we're going to end with. But it was Madam Battleaxe who asked, do you think Rantanen will perform at his peak talent or buckle under the ball arena pressure? Because playoffs are different. What are we expecting from Mikko Rantanen in his first series in the playoffs, not in an Avalanche sweater?
I think the phrase Mikko Rantanen's peak is highly distorted, because let's just say what it is. Mikko Rantanen without Nathan MacKinnon. Mm-hmm. He didn't find a peak in Carolina. Certainly hasn't found it in Dallas. What's he going to do in Dallas? Maybe they found some kind of, like, mojo and role for him, but he still feels lost and adrift and, like, not the same Mikko. Mm-hmm. What does he do with that emotion in the playoffs? We'll see. But, like, Mikko facing his former team is one thing, but Gabe rejoining the former team to play against Mikko, who's playing against the former team, I think washes that out a little bit. Mikko's got to find his role before he makes any kind of damage, because he is not the same player that he was in Colorado. And it's just not there. So yes, it's somebody you used to know, but it doesn't pack the same punch.
I mean, there's time, all guys are different. You get like a Marty Nashis who comes over and immediately just picks up and runs with the team that he's on and looks like he was been there for 10 years. And other guys take some time. Like, that. It's just the thing. And I just feel like the way Mikko Rantanen plays is the players around him need to adapt to him. Where Nashis can adapt to what's around him and play the style, and that's how he fit in nicely. Where that's like Mikko Rantanen is like, I'm going to play this way, and the guys around me need to figure out how to play with me. And I think that is going to happen. He's too good of a player for that not to happen and him not to be successful. And Dallas has too many good players to not figure it out with him. That's just how I feel. But everything gets blown up in the playoffs. Everything, fairly or unfairly. And if he struggles, that's when the questions are going to start coming. And maybe that is going to be unfair because he really hasn't been with them for a long time, but long enough where you should be at least putting some points on the board. And he's done that to a little extent. But if it doesn't happen, and the added bonus of it being against his former team, that is all you're going to hear for the offseason. And he is going to be itching to get to the regular season next year to kind of put that stuff to bed. But it's going to be sitting there for a few months if he has a poor series.
What would really make it sting? If both of his former teams this year make it farther than he does in the playoffs.
That is a good point. That is a really good point. Because Carolina is going to be saying, like, look what you could have done. Look what you could have had. But that's obviously one topic that's going to be brought up a lot over the next couple of days and during the course of this series. So, all right, we got a fun question here. We'll end with that. And this is from Heather. And she says, have you ever been, quote unquote, obsessed with something or something else as much as you are with the sport of hockey? Ooh. So what's other obsessions that you have? And I hate calling them obsessions, but maybe they are. Is there anything that you just are as fond of than you are with the sport of hockey?
Yeah, well, three things. I'm single dad, so of course my kids, like, my world revolves around them. That's all I do.
Sure.
Two, I think it's obvious with, like, sound check and a lot of our conversations, music. Mm-hmm. Both the playing aspect and music history. Love it. I obsess over just all kind of music. Mm-hmm. As you can tell by my sound check picks, they are all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think my third one would probably be retro video games and building. Like, that's my little hobby that I keep all to myself, like building retro video game consoles and handhelds and the history behind all of them. And that's what I do. Those are my three little areas: my kids, music, and like 90s retro video games.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, the kids are like the obvious answer. Like, and it's funny you say music because that's I was going to bring that up, but more specifically, you've heard me say it so many times. Like my rock god, Chris Cornell. That guy to me, like, nobody can ever top him. I have his autograph tattooed on my arm. Honestly, like, it's where is it? I can't even find it.
Did you cough it off?
Oh, it's over here. It's right there, right there. Yeah, like he to me, he was just nobody better. Best front man, like, in the history, and just the voice of an angel. You know what I mean? So it's just music, specifically him. And we're Star Wars guys.
Oh yeah.
So Star Wars is big for me, but and comic books. Like, I've gotten away from comic books a little bit. But I have long boxes all in my attic that are there. I always say, like, that's my retirement, because I have some in there that are good ones. I have Stanley's autograph on a Deadpool, a Deadpool and Spider-Man comic. So, like, I have, like, some really, like, good collectors ones. And I've been to New York Comic Con. I've been to Big Apple Comic Con. I've been to I used to always go to cons. But I've stepped away from it a little bit, but that was a big thing for me. But I have the Marvel app where they have like 500,000 comic books, and I'm reading those all day. Like, that was a big thing for me. Not as much today, but I still keep my eye on, like, different runs and stuff that are going on. So
I think I'm going to be stepping back into the comic world and the Marvel world, which I don't ever dabble in.
You're a DC man, yeah.
Yeah, because they announced that Godzilla versus the Marvel Universe comic line coming up.
Oh, okay.
And I am extremely interested in that.
All right. I mean, they're just stuff that I grew up with, and even though I've gotten older, like, you can't pull me away from it. It is what it is. So deal with it. All right. We're gonna have a crossover with Joey on Friday, so make sure you're tuned into that one. There's a couple questions that we didn't get to today, which we'll probably cover tomorrow, and anything else that's going on in Avs Nation, because there's a lot going on. It's playoff time, so we're going to talk about it. So tune in tomorrow. I'm sure I'll be feeling even better than I am right now, but I made it through, powered through. Bring on the playoffs. I'm ready.
When I grow up, I want to be just like you.
Well, thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you tomorrow, where you just made it through another 24 hours, where Sidney Crosby is that much closer to being with the Colorado Avalanche.
The most complete player in the game.
He never gets sick.